and a date with the Celtics on Sunday. Grizzlies Warriors coming your way next. Thanks to our producer Jeff Randolph, director Jonathan Bywaters, our statistician Tom Barbary, our AD Adam Orfinger, in graphics Tyler Makins, Elizabeth Drayton. For Stan Van Gundy, Lauren Jabara, and the rest of our TNT crew, Brian Anderson saying so long from Orlando. You've been watching the NBA on TNT, exclusive home of the Eastern Conference Finals.
All right, guys, Spider-Man.
All right, Dennis, what a performance. Mitchell, 30 points, and the Cleveland Cavaliers get game one here in Cleveland, 121-100. For Candace Parker, Dennis Scott, rest of our TNT crew, Spiro Dini saying good night from Cleveland. We'll break, get you to Ernie Johnson in Atlanta, and then game one between Golden State and Houston next on TNT.
He comes here and shows out here in front of family and friends.
Our producer tonight, Aaron Banks. Our director, Jonathan Bywaters. Statistician, Brian Taylor. Associate director, Franklin Cow. Our graphics producers, Tyler Makins and Carl Cronenberger. Special thanks to the Grundvigs for their help on audio. For Reggie Miller and Allie LaForce and the rest of our crew, Kevin Harlan saying good night from Houston. Happy Easter. You've been watching the NBA on TNT, your exclusive home for the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals.
Thwarted by the young Pistons. 3.6 left in game two. And they get the equalizer, 100-94, the final. For Grant Hill, Stephanie Reddy, our entire crew, Iron Eagle saying so long from the Big Apple. Let's send it to Denver, the Clippers and the Nuggets. Brian Anderson, Stan Van Gundy, Lauren Jabara.
As was the case the other night with the Clippers, they got to take care of the ball. 20 turnovers and you lose.
They'll get 2 days off. They resume Thursday for game 3. Kawhi Leonard goes over 3,000 points, 6th among active leaders on the playoff resume. Inside the NBA, presented by Kia, is coming up next. For producer Jeff Randolph, director Matt Lipp, for Stan and Lauren, Brian Anderson saying so long from Denver. What a game we just witnessed.
All right, 3D, special thanks to our terrific crew, our producer Bert Bondi, our director Brent Christan, and everyone in the truck, Adam Holzman, Keon Grissom, Elizabeth Drayton. Our statistician here at the table has been Rich Gaynor, our technical director Michael Lang, and our audio extraordinaire Jeff Walker. Now for Candace 3D, rest of our TNT crew, Spiro Dini saying good night from Oklahoma City. You've been watching the NBA on TNT. After the break, we'll get you to EJ and the guys in Atlanta next.
From the end of the regular season, it's also the fewest points allowed by the Lakers this season. To your point, they played some defense. Coming up next, Inside the NBA, presented by Kia. Our producer, Aaron Banks. Our director, Jonathan Bywaters. Statistician, Brian Taylor. Associate Director Franklin Cow. Field Producer Joe Castellano. Graphics Producers Tyler Makins along with Carl Cronenberger. Now for Reggie Miller, Taylor Rooks and the rest of our crew, Kevin Harlan saying goodnight from Los Angeles and taking you to our studio.
Celtics now up 2-0. They hold serve with a couple of home wins over the Magic. For Grant Hill, Stephanie Reddy, our entire NBA on TNT crew, Iron Eagle wishing you a good night from Boston. You're watching TNT, the exclusive home of the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals. Coming up next, we'll send you out to Houston for Game 2 of the Warriors and Rockets here on TNT.
Playoff series, 38 points. What a performance. Coming up inside the NBA, presented by Kia. Our producer tonight, Jeff Randolph. Director Matt Litt. Statistician Tom Barbary. Our AD, Adam Orfinger. In graphics, Jeff Paris, Carl Cronenberger. For Stan Van Gundy, Lauren Jabbar, the rest of our talented TNT crew, I'm Brian Anderson, saying so long from Houston. You've been watching the NBA on TNT, exclusive home of the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, to Ernie Johnson in Atlanta.
In this best of 7 first-round Eastern Conference Series. Coming up next on TNT, Game 3 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Memphis Grizzlies. Saying goodnight from Detroit, you've been watching the NBA on TNT, exclusive home of the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals.
And they will have a chance to close out this series on Saturday afternoon. Special thanks to our crew, our producer Bert Bondi, our director Brent Christan, associate director Adam Holzman, our graphics producers Keon Grissom, Carl Cronenberger, statistician Rich Gaynor, our technical director Michael Lang, audio Jeff Walker, and our tape operators Chuck Sorelli, Nick Franklin, and Leslie Katz. Now for Candace 3D, Spiro Adidas saying so long from Memphis. You've been watching the NBA playoffs on TNT.
And he was great tonight. He's been great all season, the defensive player of the year. How about this? The Heat have dropped 7 straight at home in the postseason. Their last home playoff win came in 2023. Coming up next on TNT, it's Game 4 between the Thunder and the Grizzlies. For Taylor Rooks, Greg Anthony, and the rest of our outstanding TNT crew, I'm Matt Devlin saying so long from Miami. After the break, we'll send it to our Atlanta studio.
Has punched its ticket to the Western Conference semifinals. For Candace, for Dennis, rest of our TNT crew, Spiro Adidas saying goodbye from Memphis. Nuggets Clippers Game 4 is next.
Last couple weeks, coming back, they lost a 22-point lead, but Denver at the end wins it. Jokic, 36 points, 21 rebounds, a thriller in LA. Next, All Elite Wrestling Collision.
Minutes left. That'll do it for us. For Stan Van Gundy, Lauren Jabara, the rest of our TNT crew, Brian Anderson saying goodnight from Orlando. Now we send it to Milwaukee. Ian Eagle, Grant Hill, Stephanie Reddy.
A nearly perfect performance for the Pacers offensively. They shoot 60% from the field, 46% from three-point territory. Our producer, Sean Gerchikoff, director, Rich Russo, Chirag Devaskar, our associate director. Thanks to our field producer, Alvin Whitney, production assistants, Calvin Barnes, Carl Cronenberger, our statistician, Jim Stamos. For Grant Hill, Stephanie Reddy, our entire crew, Ian Eagle saying good night from Milwaukee. After this break, we'll send you to Ernie, Kenny, Charles, and Shaq in Atlanta.
Donovan Mitchell looking spry, and the Cleveland Cavaliers looking fierce. That'll do it for us from Miami. For Candace 3D, rest of our TNT crew, Spiro Adidas saying good night. You've been watching the NBA on TNT, exclusive home of the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll break and get you to EJ and the crew in Atlanta next.
By 3. Coming up next, it's Inside the NBA, presented by Kia. Producer Aaron Banks, director Jonathan Bywaters, statistician Brian Taylor, associate director Franklin Cow. Our graphics producers Tyler Makins and Carl Cronenberger. For Reggie Miller, Ali LaForce, and the rest of the crew, Kevin Harlan saying goodnight from San Francisco. You've been watching the NBA on TNT, your home for the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals.
Defeat the Knicks at the Garden, 106-103 to force a Game 6. For Grant Hill, Stephanie Reddy, our entire crew, Ian Eagle saying so long from the Garden.
Now to Denver for the Clippers and Nuggets. Brian Anderson, Stan Van Gundy.
Back games for the first time since March 4th. Nearly 2 months without. And here we go to Game 6 in LA. Coming up next, Inside the NBA, presented by Kia. Thanks to Jeff Randolph, our producer, director Matt Lipp, statistician Tom Barbary, our AD Adam Orfinger, in graphics Jeff Paris, Carl Cronenberger. For Stan Van Gundy, Lauren Jabara, and the rest of our TNT crew, Brian Anderson saying so long from Denver, where Jamal Murray and the Nuggets win Game 5.
Offensive performance, built up a 30-point lead, and they get this series back to San Francisco on Friday night. Now for Candace 3D, rest of our TNT crew, Spiro Ditas saying good night. You've been watching the NBA on TNT as we get into EJ and the crew in Atlanta.
Big win for the Wolves. They close out the game on the road again. This team has been terrific. They have had a month of March and a month of April that has put them in a position to now go to the second round. Your thoughts on this series? Minnesota winning it 4-1.
Well, coming into the series, the highlight was going to be the Luka-LeBron pairing, right? What was that going to look like in a 7-game series? And I like what Chris Finch did with his team. He says, look, no one is picking us to win this series. And he went to Anthony Edwards and said, look, you can't go around the king. You got to go through him. And that's exactly what Anthony Edwards and these Timberwolves did. They did a great job of game planning, and Gobert and Julius Randle showed up and showed out.
Last time that we'll see LeBron on the TNT channel. Coming up next on TNT, Inside the NBA, presented by Kia. Producer Aaron Banks, director Jonathan Bywater, statistician Brian Taylor, associate director Franklin Cow, graphics producers Tyler Makins and Elizabeth Drayton. And now for Reggie Miller, Allie LaForce, and the rest of the crew, Kevin Harlan saying good night from Los Angeles. You've been watching the NBA on TNT, your home for the Eastern Conference Finals.
Knicks won it over the Detroit Pistons. For Grant Hill, Stephanie Reddy, our entire crew, Iron Eagle wishing you good night from Detroit. Time now to send it out to Los Angeles. The Nuggets and the Clippers. It's Game 6. Brian Anderson, Stan Van Gundy, Lauren Schott.
And we look forward to seeing all of you for Game 7 Saturday night in Denver. Coming up next, Inside the NBA, presented by Kia. Our producer, Jeff Randolph, director Matt Lipp, our terrific crew here in LA. For Stan Van Gundy, Lauren Jabara, I'm Brian Anderson saying good night from Los Angeles. You've been watching the NBA on TNT, home of the Eastern Conference Finals.
On to the Western Conference semifinals. They get it done at home against the Los Angeles Clippers. For Grant Hill, Stephanie Reddy, our entire NBA on TNT crew, stellar performance in the truck. Iron Eagle wishing you good night from the Mile High City. After the break, we'll send you to Ernie, Kenny, Charles, and Shaq in Atlanta. Nuggets moving on.
Game 1. We want to acknowledge our producer Bert Bondi working his final NBA on TNT game tonight as he gears up for Paris and Roland Garros in a couple of weeks. Bert, we'll miss you. Coming up next on TNT, Game 7, Golden State and Houston. Now for GA, Jared, rest of our TNT crew, Spiro Ditas saying good night from Cleveland. You've been watching the NBA on TNT.
We'll hear from him on Inside the NBA, presented by Kia. The Golden State Warriors prevail, the 7th seed advancing to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves in round 2. producer Jeff Randolph, director Matt Lipp. Thanks to our terrific TNT crew here in Houston. For Stan Van Gundy, Lauren Jabara, and the rest of our crew, Brian Anderson saying good night from H-Town. The Eastern Conference Finals right here on NBA TV and NBA on TNT.
And how about the big three to boot for Mikal Bridges?
Bridges played 51 of a possible 53 minutes. Absolutely unbelievable. That'll do it from Boston. For Reggie Miller, Allie LaForce, the rest of the TNT crew, Kevin Harlan saying good night. The Knicks go up 1-0. Let's take you live to Oklahoma City.
The Denver Nuggets have it, and they take game one. That was a thrilling win and a dispiriting loss for the Thunder. For Grant Hill, Stephanie Reddy, our entire NBA on TNT crew, I'm Ian Eagle, wishing you a good night from Oklahoma City. You're watching TNT, the exclusive home of the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals. Game one goes to the Nuggets as we go to Ernie, Kenny, Charles, and Shaq in Atlanta.
Shots to give the Pacers a command lead in the series with the next two in Indianapolis. They were down 14 entering the fourth, and they come all the way back. For GA, for Jared, Spirodidis saying good night from Cleveland.
And they go to 23-5 in game ones of a playoff series under Steve Kerr.
And with Steph Curry on their team.
That helps. Now that is going to be big news. How available will Stephen Curry be the rest of the way in this one? Inside the NBA, presented by Kia, coming up next. Our producer Jeff Randolph, director Matt Lipp, our terrific TNT crew. For Stan Van Gundy, Lauren Jabara, Brian Anderson saying so long from Minneapolis.
New York with that 2-0 lead on the defending champs. And 6 consecutive defending champions have lost in the second round. Now, there's a lot for the Celtics to battle. New York, scrappy, gritty, and a big-time win. That'll do it from Boston. For Reggie Miller and Allie LaForce, the rest of our crew, Kevin Harlan saying good night from Massachusetts.
The bounce back by the Thunder. Dominant win in game two. For Grant Hill, Stephanie Reddy, our entire outstanding NBA on TNT crew, Ian Eagle wishing you good night from OKC. You're watching TNT, the exclusive home of the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals. Now we send it to Atlanta. EJ, Kenny, Charles, and Shaq.
Nice position. That'll do it for us here in Minneapolis. We'll see you guys again. Game 5 here at Target Center next Wednesday. Thanks to our terrific crew. For Stan Van Gundy, Lauren Jabara, I'm Brian Anderson saying good night from the Twin Cities. You've been watching the NBA on TNT, exclusive home of the Eastern Conference Finals. Ernie Johnson and our gang in Atlanta, inside the NBA, presented by Kia, coming up next.
Coming up next on TNT, Inside the NBA, presented by Kia. Our producer, Aaron Banks, our director, Brent Christan, our technical director, Todd Kinsey, our A1, Dave Grunvig, tape room, Andrew Siegel, Tony Smith, and Lisa Rodriguez, our tech manager, Dean Koenig, and our statistician, Rich Gaynor. Now for GA, Jared, rest of our crew, Spirodidis saying good night from Indy. You've been watching the NBA on TNT, exclusive home of the Eastern Conference Finals. Denver and Oklahoma City. Special thanks to our amazing crew, our producer Aaron Banks, our director Brent Christan, our technical director Bob Krapko, A1, Sean Kitchen, Tape Room, Bob Eaton, Sean Broussard, and Barrett Brenner. Production manager has been Michael Simmons. Our statistician at the table, Rich Gator. Now for Greg Anthony, Jared Greenberg, rest of our crew, Spiro Ditas saying good night from Cleveland. You've been watching the NBA on TNT, exclusive home of the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals.
Fourth, they do it once again in back-to-back games. Game 4, Game 5, and now up 3-2 in the series. For the Hall of Famer Grant Hill, Stephanie Reddy, our entire NBA on TNT outstanding crew. Iron Eagle wishing you a great night from OKC. The Thunder win it, rising up in the fourth to defeat the Nuggets. We send it to Ernie, Charles, Jalen Rose, and Dwight Howard in Atlanta.
Will go to New York and play the Knicks in Game 6. To Reggie Miller, Allie LaForce, and the rest of the TNT crew, Kevin Harlan saying goodnight from Boston. After the break, we'll take you to Minneapolis. Warriors and Timberwolves with the voice of TNT Sports, Brian Anderson, Stan Van Gundy, and Lauren Jabara.